Hello everybody, welcome back to another clarity video. Today we are going to talk about resolving relationship conflicts with ease, doing your own energy work. I'm going to take you through a nice, easy, simple process that anyone can do to clear up any and all issues you have in relationships. Sounds like too good to be true, right? Well, the first thing is to understand that anytime you have a conflict with anybody else in your world, the only person you really need to worry about is yourself and resolving it within you. The other person may still feel conflicted, so you can't control that. But this is about dissolving the energy that is causing the conflict between you and the other person. And specifically, what this is about today is if you have relationships in your life that are conflicted, that don't feel good, that there's something unresolved, something that you're not happy with, you can tell things are off and you have not been able to resolve it. You have not been able to sit down directly with that person and resolve it. So this is mostly going to be where you have energy blocks. So if you have something going on and you haven't sat down and had a heart to heart and said, hey, what's going on? Here's how I feel, and resolved it either between each other or at least tried to, then you've got an energy block because you're not communicating. You're not able to connect, to really connect and communicate and express yourself fully and completely and authentically. And so we're going to talk about how you can resolve that energy because there's something stuck there, okay? You got a block, and we're all energy workers. And it's so funny because, even like in sessions and my Shavasanas, I do energy work. I bring energy through, and sometimes we bring it through the chakras or wherever your body wants it. But we're all always working energy. Energy worker. It's a funny term because you're working energy right now if you're thinking any thoughts. Every thought that you choose to grasp onto and choose to be real or not real, you just shifted your energy. So for most people, literally, well, for everyone, literally in every breath we take, we're energetically transforming. And every time you will say, grasp onto a thought, make a belief, make a judgment, oh, this person is a that, or the world is a this way, or I shouldn't have done that, I should have done that, they should act this way. Every one of those things that I just mentioned are like little bricks that you put on you. It's like heavy energy. Every time we make a belief, we make a judgment, we set something in stone, it's heavy. It's you're creating belief systems. And every time you judge other people in relationships, if you judge them or you judge yourself. So sometimes it's judging them, and sometimes it's giving your power away to them, not speaking up for yourself, not being honest, being afraid to speak your truth or whatever. Every relationship has an energy flow. And it's like in a relationship, there's an energy harmony, you could say, that goes back and forth. And you're constantly attuning that depending on how you're showing up, the thoughts you're thinking, what you're buying into, what you're believing, what you're making as your reality. So with every relationship, and that really goes for you and yourself, you and the whole outside world, but you definitely have the ability to shift things energetically and clear that up. And so it's just always good to be conscious and aware in every single moment. Anytime we are creating beliefs, identifying with anything, and whether it's positive or negative, it all has weight, and it all keeps us more encased in the mind, in the structures of the mind, rather than being able to expand our awareness beyond. So enough about that. All right, so relationships. If you like my videos and you have found them helpful, I probably will be doing a lot of relationship videos in November and December. You might be interested in my group, Everyday Life as Creator. It's a brand new group. Well, it's not mine. It's everyone's group who's in it. It is $30 a month right now. And I just finished my first video and put it out for the group, talking about the relationship with ourselves, with our non-physical team, with other people that are close in our lives, with society, with the whole universe. And that was the foundation of our kickoff. And so every 2 months we're going to have a new topic, but you can join anytime if you'd like. And then we're going to have a Zoom call on November 17th, and then we'll have a couple in December, so we all get together. So we do some videos, go over some things, bring in lots of energies to get things moving. And so these clarity videos I can already see are going to be kind of flowing in alignment with what we're doing in the Creators series. So if you enjoy these at some point and you think, oh, maybe I want to go a little deeper and do a deep dive into this material, then feel free to join us anytime. It's at my homepage at kathybauman.com. All right, so let's go back to our example now. Let's say you have somebody in your life that there's an angst. It could be a coworker, a family member, it doesn't really matter. There's something going on there and you haven't fully expressed to them how you feel. If you are in that situation, there's a good chance that you have this kind of blockage on a regular basis, that you have a hard time expressing yourself, a hard time just saying, hey, here's who I am, here's how I feel, what's going on, a hard time just fully letting the chips fall where they may. Here you go, here's how I feel. And in that case, then this is really gonna pertain to you. It's gonna be really helpful in your life. I'll use, so one thing to be aware of is if you have this, there's a chance, well, most likely you've had this your whole life. This struggle to express yourself, to just be open, to address things. You might be afraid of conflict. You try to keep things smoothed over. You don't want to fight with people, or what will people think, that kind of thing. So there's a good chance you've had that your whole life. And one thing I recognized, I'll use myself as an example, is, being very, very small. Most of us make these decisions when we're very, very young. We don't remember it. You might be an infant or a toddler and make the decision like, I can't ask for help because people get mad at me, because you were crying for help and you got yelled at, or your parents got upset, or you were told to be quiet. How many kids are told to be quiet, right? Keep your mouth shut. So it's very common that these tendencies, these blockages started when we were very, very young. And as a result of that, it can be incredibly difficult. I know this from my own experience. When I started doing this process that I'm about to tell you, it's super simple, but it almost felt, embarrassing or ridiculous that I would try to have these conversations and I just didn't even have the words. I'd just be like, because I never learned how to express myself in that way. I never even developed a vocabulary for saying things like, for example, let's say we'll use that example. All right, so I can't ask for help or I'm going to upset the people around me. They're already so busy and stressed out, they can't help me. And then you never ask for help. So maybe as an adult, you become like somebody who never asks for help, and you take the weight of the world on your shoulders and you try to do everything and get everything done. And you're very strong and very determined, which is great qualities, but you become resentful, tired, burnt out, bitter, angry, frustrated, irritable. Does this sound familiar to anybody? I definitely lived this one. And, I remember at one point in my life going, just being so mad because maybe certain people, it's like, God, I did all this to help you and you don't even offer to help me. But what I didn't realize was they had a totally different perspective. Like asking for help was normal for them. And for me, it just wasn't in my vocabulary. It wasn't in my energy. It's just like it wasn't even an available option. I didn't even contemplate it, but I would get mad. So it's just one example, but I didn't even know how to say, oh God, I'm really overloaded. Hey, do you think you could help me with this? All right. Or, I help you with all this stuff. You never help me. We have all these energy blocks. We'll call them layers. Maybe you perceive it as a weakness, or, maybe at one point you got yelled at when, like I said, when you were asking someone to help you. And so it's just almost like a little PTSD block of energy in your body, very physically. So what we can do, when I started this work, it was like, oh my God, I have to have all these conversations with people. And if you are in this boat of having these blocks, it can be terrifying. I mean, there's times, and I've talked to a lot of other people friends and people I've worked with, that when they've had these conversations that have been hard for them, like their body shakes because they're releasing this old energy pattern, these old blocks. But the good news is you don't have to go and do it with the person in the physical. You can clear the energy first and then have a nice, easy conversation in the physical. So it's like a kind of a more safe and comfortable way to make a huge shift. And so I love this. So what you're going to do is use your imagination, because your body doesn't really know the difference. You're going to bring that person, have them sit right side by side with you. And I highly encourage you to do this like regularly until you've dissolved everything. And if you've heard me talk about breathing and feeling your presence a lot, it's important to stay in your breath and your presence as you do this, and in your body, because then you're going to feel these fears and these tightnesses and these things, and you're just going to breathe through them. You're just going to keep breathing through them, and that is the energy actually dissolving. So let's say, I'm going to use another example now, so I can make this very real for you. Let's say you tend to be that strong person who doesn't ask for help, but so you tend to, how friendships are, like codependencies, a lot of times opposites attract, that whole magnetics thing, karmic business. So you may have friends, or a friend, we'll use this friend as an example, that is kind of the opposite, always complaining, always kind of the one who's, maybe you're the strong one, and they're like, oh, my life is this, my life is that, and complaining, down in the dumps, having issues, whatever. And this is where I say, if you have a relationship in your life where you're like, it doesn't feel good. I don't even want to answer the phone when so-and-so calls me because she's going to be whining for the 100th time about blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is the example we're going to use. And perhaps, like many of us, you were taught to be nice, be supportive, blah, blah, blah. And so at some point early on, you didn't learn how to be direct and to be, helpful in a direct way. You just became a listener. Probably a lot of people that can relate to this. But sometimes listening for hours and hours isn't really helping somebody. It's sort of like enabling their victim mentality, rather than saying, hey, do you want to change this? Would you like some help? Because I've heard this like so many times and you can change it, that type of thing, which for me is very easy now, right? But so you're going to bring this person forward and you're going to pretend you're talking to them. Now, you can do this with your imagination, or if you have maybe a spouse or a buddy to do it with, that is awesome. I've done this both ways, myself and with other people I've worked with, and it can be really cool if you have somebody that you can trust that much that can also play that role for you to make it even more real. But depending on the nature, you might even feel more comfortable doing this by yourself. And so you're going to pretend that your normal conversation with them is starting. And let's say they go down the path of, woe is me, I'm the biggest victim on the planet or whatever. My life sucks, and this is still happening. You're going to jump in, you're going to start creating a new vocabulary. You're going to start coming up with phrases. Oh, you know what? You've mentioned this like so many times. What are you doing to change this? It just seems like it's, and now you're not trying to be a counselor. You're not trying to be a therapist. You're not trying to say things right. You're not trying to approach this in the right way or the perfect way, because you'll be stuck forever. You're trying to clear your energy. So let's just say in this example, if you're used to being nice and quiet and supportive and you don't want to upset them, if you're in that kind of meek, nice category, have some fun with it, okay? If it's just you and the walls and your imagination, then say, dude, are you kidding me? I can't listen to one more minute of your shit. Start moving some energy, have some fun with it. Like, really think you're the only one in the world with problems? Have some fun with it. Don't take it too seriously, because you're not trying to, this isn't a real conversation right now, right? We are moving energy out. But there might be people in your life who, let's just say you're upset. You don't feel like they've supported you. You have an old wound, like an old situation that was never resolved. Deep things. Sometimes there's very deep hurt between people where they're very upset, and this would be a great one, because what you might find, and what I found in several cases when I did this initially, was I wouldn't even be able to find words. The words just weren't there, because I had never honored myself in that way. I wasn't able to articulate my feelings that easily. And that's where I did have to use a buddy a few times and be like, hey, what would you say if you were in my shoes? I've got this situation. What would you say to your friend? And they'd just be like, blah, 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 blah. So easily, where I was like, I don't even have a foundation for how to address this. So it takes practice. And as you do that, you might find in the beginning, I had situations where there might be tears. You might find yourself sobbing because you've never said this thing out loud, because it's just as real, and let's talk multidimensionality. You are welcoming them there. Their essence is there with you when you're imagining this. They might not consciously know it, but they even might feel it. So this is happening. And you might find yourself crying. You might find yourself yelling. Let it out. We're moving energy here so that when the time, and if the time comes, then when you talk to them, if you choose to have this type of communication in the physical, you do this ethereal thing over and over and over again until it flows like, warm butter. And then when you talk to them in the physical, there's not all this angst in you. There's not all this pent up energy, this anxiety and this stress. It's just easy. It's light. The funny thing is, they are going to feel the difference in you if you never say a word to them. Maybe it's somebody that you feel angst, but you don't really talk to them anymore. If they live on the other side of the planet, they're going to feel something about you. Next time they think about you, you are doing energy work between the two of you, okay? So there have been these cords, these hooks, these things that are still kind of going on. You're dissolving them. You're going to go through this until you feel completely clear. Until you feel fine. And of course, maybe you got some more inner work to do to, accept them where they're at, to see the beauty in them. I always recommend that. If you got a problem with that person, look beyond the human, look beyond the outward expression, look into what's going on deep inside, and then look beyond to the soul, connect with their essence. Realize that you too, certainly, if you're having angst, have some sort of a soul connection, a contract or agreement to help each other resolve something. And now you are arising above it. You're the one transcending it and dissolving the energy for both of you. So great job. But it is going to affect the way they feel about you and the way you feel about them without ever having to speak a word to them. And then if you choose to, great. And if not, at least you've dissolved the energy and you'll be clear as to what's better. You might find some weird things. They might end up calling you, so it's worth playing with. But this is how you do energy work for yourself. The main thing is not how they respond, how they react, if they understand you. If you do talk to them, let them react how they react. We don't really care. It's always great when we have a warm reception, right? But your job is always to keep yourself clear, your energy clear, to be in your alignment with your true self, of integrity, of clarity, of love, and now you've done what you can to address this, and you've cleared up the energy for you. Whatever happens for them, happens for them. So what you're going to notice as you do this over and over is, in the beginning, you might feel like, oh, really hard to talk. It might come out as tears or anger, or find yourself, energetically feeling a lot of frustration or angst, sadness, whatever it might be. And then your words might be obnoxious at first, okay? It might just be blah, blah, whatever, just to get it out, to get something out. And then as you do it again and again, your words and your energy are going to start refining and refining. So you might go from, how could you do that? You're an a-hole. Eventually down the road to, I know you had to do what you had to do, but I was in a rough spot, so I took it pretty hard. And I know you weren't trying to, blah, blah, blah. And then, a few more takes, you might be like, this really bothered me. And then I came to terms with yada, yada, yada. And now, I understand that I don't know everything about what you were going through, and vice versa. And I just want to make amends, to eventually where you get to the point where you don't have any of that emotional baggage that you've been putting on your shoulders. So that's why I say do it over and over and over again until you get clear. And you'll be surprised. You'll start out, for me, sometimes in the beginning it would be like just so hard to even find words. And then as that transformation would take place, by the end I'd be like, dang, that came out so smooth and elegant and full of compassion and wisdom and understanding, and no blame, no judgment, none of that, whatever it was, anger, hate, sadness, etc. It's like you're opening up within yourself as well to release all this emotional content that's probably related not just to that relationship, but to your whole life, and expanding your perspective, because you'll hear yourself. You might want to do this in the mirror too, that'd be fine. But you'll hear yourself, and you'll hear your own judgments, you'll hear your own bias, your own assumptions, and then you'll go, well, wait a minute, maybe, I don't know, maybe they were, going through something, or maybe this, or maybe I didn't understand that, or even if it's something where it's all in you, you'll start releasing those energies to the point where you get, like I said, to, this really used to bother me, and now it's like, I don't know why it happened, but I accept that it has happened, and I just wanted to clear the air with you because I want us to have a great relationship, something like that. So I hope you'll give it a try. If you've got, unless everything in your life is just like sunshine and roses, which I hope it is, but if you've got any relationships that this might work for, then I highly recommend you try it. Do it with your imagination, which is more than your imagination. But also, if you get really stumped, maybe ask a good friend, like, hey, would you jump in here? What would you do in this situation? It's wonderful where we have blocks. You can be one of the most amazing, wise beings on the planet, but in one area of your life, you're totally blocked. There are amazing masters who are just like, whoa, but they have certain aspects of their life where they are still stuck in a childhood emotional capacity where they haven't been able to release that. And that's where we need each other to say, what would you do in that situation? And then somebody says something and you're like, why didn't I think of that? Because you never learned how to do it. That's all. So I hope this helps. I might be sharing a few more of these. I've got quite a few similar, relationship type things for, like I said, our group that we're doing. So you might notice a theme coming. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. If you're interested in our group, or I do private sessions, I've got also the MP3s, which are more direct energetic journeys and energy work where you can just pop in some earbuds and lay back and kind of let the energies do the work for you. That's all on my homepage at kathybauman.com. All right, thank you so much. Have fun with all your relationships. And again, if you have any questions or requests, don't hesitate to let me know. Namaste.